After 15 years of banishment from his native Persia, Baha'u'llah, the founder of the Baha'i faith, was exiled in 1868 to this land under the rule of the Ottoman Empire. He was imprisoned in this fortress city, which he referred to as the most great prison. For a period of 7 years, he was confined to the house of Abud, where the most holy book of the Baha'i revelation was revealed. At the appointed time, through the initiative of his eldest son, Abdul Baha, the Blessed Beauty proceeded out of his residence in the house of Abud down these stairs, towards the door that opened to the back streets of Akkor. In kingly manner, he entered the waiting carriage, which took him through the narrow streets of Akkor and out of the city via the land gate to the countryside. Having been deprived for so many years of closeness to nature and the beauty and verdure of the countryside, it was Abdul Baha who arranged this location in Mazrai for Baha'u'llah. During his sojourn here, Baha'u'llah visited a beautiful spot in close proximity to Akkor, which he called the Garden of Rezvan. In 1879, Baha'u'llah moved from Mazrai to the mansion of Bahji, where he lived for the remaining 13 years of his life, passing away in 1892. It was in this delightful place that the grandeur and majesty of Baha'u'llah were manifested to friend and foe alike. Well over a century later, the mansion and its surroundings may be seen in their full glory. It was during this period that Baha'u'llah revealed tablets to certain individuals, bestowing on them the title, Hands of the Cause of God. Baha'u'llah referred to these special few as the chosen ones, the detached souls, and the pure in spirit. In the Tablet of the World, Lawh-e-Dunya, revealed shortly before his ascension, the Blessed Beauty described the loftiness of the station of the Hands of the Cause of God. This film is about these God-intoxicated heroes and heroines of the Baha'i faith, each of whom was elevated to the rank of Hand of the Cause, either during their lifetimes or on their passing, by Baha'u'llah, Abdul-Baha, or by Shoghi Effendi. Committed to the principles and teachings of Baha'u'llah, these valiant souls expended all their energies towards the advancement and protection of his cause, while maintaining a life free from fanaticism and dogma. They associated with people in friendship and harmony and pursued their careers. Yet their entire lives were energized by the single purpose of serving their Lord and diffusing his divine fragrances to everyone they encountered. This film is also about the Hands as a body, an institution with accomplishments unprecedented in the annals of religious history.
The first 4 individuals to be honored with this distinction were Janab Haji Mullah Ali Akbar Shahmizadi, known as Haji Akhund; Janab Mirza Muhammad Taqi, known as Ibn Abhar; Janab Mirza Ali Muhammad, known as Ibn Asdaq; and Janab Haji Mirza Hassan, surnamed Adib. According to the Blessed Beauty, there were others who were accounted as hands of the cause in the sight of God, but whose names in his wisdom he did not publicly reveal. Among these were Agha Mirza Agha Afnan, entitled Nuruddin, who was the nephew of the wife of the Bab and to whom was addressed the Tablet of the World. He and his family were nominated as the hereditary custodians of the House of the Bab in Shiraz. Janab Shah Mirzadi, or Haji Akhund, attained the presence of Baha'u'llah in 1873. During his life, he was imprisoned 6 times and spent altogether about 7 years bound in chains and fetters in many gloomy dungeons. On one occasion, only 3 days after his marriage, he was jailed for 7 months. On another, he was imprisoned for a long time with the trustee of Huquq, Haji Amin. Abdul-Baha saw this picture and noted that they were both sitting composed, acquiescent, undisturbed, while in chains and shackles. Haji Akhund was praised by Abdul-Baha in his book Memorials of the Faithful for his steadfastness and unshakable faith. I loved him very much, for he was delightful to converse with, and as a companion, second to none, said Abdul-Baha in his eulogy. A great achievement of Haji Akhund's was the transportation of the holy remains of the Bab to Tehran, and their protection in various places such as this mosque, until further instructions were given by Baha'u'llah.
Janab ibn Abhar was in his youth overcome with thoughts of martyrdom. So strong was his yearning that he sought Baha'u'llah's preference between laying down one's life for the love of God or that of teaching the cause with wisdom and the power of utterance. The Blessed Beauty advised him of his preference for the latter, that after the heart-wrenching martyrdom of the youthful Badi, the friend should act with prudence and care. Martyrdom is the greatest bounty, provided it takes place through circumstances beyond one's control. In 1886 at Bahji, Ibn Abhar attained the presence of Baha'u'llah, who directed him to pass through the cities of Persia and spread the divine fragrances of his message. This he did until his imprisonment again in 1891 in the Siachal, the notorious dungeon in Tehran. Here, Ibn Abhar is shown in chains with guards surrounding him. The inscription is a tablet from Abdul-Baha in his honor, Even in prison, he managed to teach the faith and was to suffer severe punishment, including the bastinado, which involved flogging the soles of the feet until they became bloody and immobile. To console his loved ones, he wrote a letter which said in part, "I swear by God the Exalted, that while my legs from knee to toe were in great pain, my soul was communing with my beloved in the utmost joy. For pain and bodily swellings will die down in a few days' time. Only their mention will remain in this world, but their bounty will last in the world of spirit till eternity."
Janab ibn Astaq, at a young age, accompanied his father to Baghdad, where they both attained the presence of Baha'u'llah. This face-to-face meeting with the supreme manifestation of God left an enduring impression on him and galvanized his entire being. On his return to Tehran, he was thrown with his father into the dungeon of that city and underwent the agony of torture and imprisonment. In a submission to Baha'u'llah, he pleaded for martyrdom. In response, Baha'u'llah pointed out that martyrdom is not confined to the shedding of blood, as it is possible to live and yet be counted a martyr in the sight of God. 2 years later, Ibn Astaq again asked for martyrdom. Abdul-Baha then addressed him as Shahid ibn Shahid, or martyr, son of martyr. Thus, both father and son were granted this lofty station whilst still alive.
Adibul Ulama, which means man of the learned, became a Baha'i in 1889, 3 years before the passing of the Blessed Beauty. Before embracing the faith, he had ranked as a scholar and made important literary contributions. He was to write a number of books on the proofs of the faith, and during the ministry of Abdul-Baha, he played a major role in the teaching work, including the education of Baha'i youth. The founding of the Tarbiyat School, the most prestigious educational institution in the country, was in part due to his dedicated efforts. Eight hours after sunset, on the 29th of May, 1892, the Blessed Beauty took his flight from this mortal plane to the Abha kingdom. "The sun of Baha has set," were the words communicated immediately to the Turkish Sultan Abdul Hamid. Suddenly the Baha'i world found itself cut off from that divine source of revelation. Grief and sorrow overwhelmed all believers and the many others represented at his funeral. In his will and testament, the Kitab-e-Ahd, here shown in a transcribed copy, Baha'u'llah appointed his son Abdul-Baha as the center of the covenant. Under the direct supervision of the master, Abdul-Baha, one of the great services of the four hands of the cause after the ascension of Baha'u'llah was the stewardship of the Baha'i community. Here, the hands are seen seated amongst the friends.
During his lifetime, Baha'u'llah had directed the hands to consult among themselves and with other believers on issues concerning the growth and development of the Baha'i community. He emphasized in his writings the importance of consultation. To this end, Abdul-Baha instructed the hands of the cause to elect the first spiritual assembly of the Baha'is of Tehran, the first such assembly in the Baha'i world. This historic picture shows the result of the election with 3 of the 4 hands sitting in the middle. An important feature was that the first assembly had members from Zoroastrian and Jewish backgrounds, an unprecedented event in a society dominated by religious prejudice.
Ibn Abhar was a driving force in the promotion of the education of women. He and his wife played important roles on a special committee formed in 1909 for the liberation of women in Persian society, and were instrumental in the formation of the Spiritual Assembly of Baha'i Women in 1910. This picture, taken in 1916, is of the Ladies' Committee of Tehran. As a result of the diligent efforts of Ibn Abhar and his wife, the first Baha'i school for girls was founded in Tehran. It grew and became known as the Tarbiyat School for Girls, seen here in later years. It was these important initiatives which led to the elevation of the role of women in Persian society and to the creation of various committees such as this, called the Taraqqiye Nesvan, or Progress of Women, and the first National Women's Convention in 1945. Janab ibn Asdaq lived the longest of the four hands and was the only one to witness the ministry of Shoghi Effendi. At the bidding of Abdul Baha, Ibn Asdaq travelled extensively, visiting India and Burma. In the aftermath of the First World War, he presented a tablet addressed by Abdul Baha to the Central Organization for a Durable Peace at The Hague.
During his lifetime, the master did not appoint any living hands of the cause, only conferring this rank on a few posthumously. He authorized Shoghi Effendi, however, to appoint hands during his ministry, and in his will and testament describes the duty of the hands. The obligations of the hands of the cause of God are to diffuse the divine fragrances, to edify the souls of men, to promote learning, to improve the character of all men, and to be at all times and under all conditions sanctified and detached from earthly things. They must manifest the fear of God by their conduct, their manner,